American luxury cars are kind of like Instagram influencers. Once you remove that thin veneer of makeup and remove some of their plastic features, the American cars underneath are very cheaply built and they're profit driven. My name is Andy, and today we're gonna find out which country makes the best luxury cars. Now, over here we have our scale. At the top, we have God tier. That is reserved for the finest in luxury cars. And at the bottom, we've got trash, the worst luxury cars. Now let's get into it. Starting with Japan. Now, Japan is known for making solid all-round economy cars, but Japan has also made some fairly premium luxury cars. They're very dependable, very luxurious, but they fall apart in one aspect, and that is feel. When you get into a Japanese car, it can feel a little bit tinnier because of the cars that they're based on. For example, Lexus is based on a lot of Toyota models. Yes, they add the luxurious layers, but underneath it still feels a bit cheap. But overall, Japan makes some good luxury cars. The USA has a variety of luxury cars such as Lincoln, Cadillac, Tesla, and Chrysler. Cadillac in particular actually used to set the standard when it came to luxury cars, although in recent times I have to say that American build quality has destroyed that legacy of luxury cars. Think of it like this: American luxury cars are kind of like Instagram influencers. Once you remove that thin veneer of makeup and remove some of their plastic features, the American cars underneath are very cheaply built and they're profit driven.
Damn it, Myrtle, I can't figure out a way to make this wheel square.
Unfortunately, these American cars are actually trash. Now, Australia used to have a pretty big car segment, specifically luxury cars, when it came to HSV Senators and Holden Caprices.
Football meat pies, kangaroos and Holden cars. Football meat pies, kangaroos and Holden cars.
But all of our cars were based on US platforms, and they suffered the same issues where they could have been loaded with features, but underneath they were just that cheap plasticky veneer. They didn't have the real luxury that a European or a Japanese car had, and Australian luxury cars are kind of meh. Next up, we've got the United Kingdom. Now, yes, I know the UK don't produce cars anymore.
The sound of Britain in the 60s. Mighty in the Midlands we thrive.
But the brands still live on, and a lot of them are still headquartered in England. You get the picture. For many years, British cars set the absolute standard of luxury cars, despite their appalling reliability. Now, yes, you open the door of a Jaguar and there's a 50% chance it could fall off, but ignoring that factor, they were lined with beautiful wood, walnut, leather, the lot. When it comes to things like Range Rovers, when it comes to things like Bentley, the UK is absolutely leading the way and killing it, and they make some god tier luxury cars. Italy is mostly known for making supercars, but more and more these days they're turning towards more luxury orientated cars, especially with the likes of Alfa Romeo and even Ferrari turning to the SUVs. Flamboyant, yes. They're not the most reliable cars in the world, but they make some pretty beautiful interiors. Their styling is on point, and overall, I gotta say, Italian luxury cars, they're good, they're solid. Now, France has often stood out with some of its quirkier luxury cars, especially Citroën, but they've also done things well. It is simple, but effective. France has made some pretty impressive cars. Now, overall, I gotta say that France, they're a good level luxury car brand. Now, China 20 years ago was mostly rice paddies. That's not racism, that's a fact. These days, China is known as one of the market leaders when it comes to technology, production, and now they're starting to emerge with cars. Unfortunately, they haven't quite grasped the concept of the luxury car yet, producing things like the Honky, which on the surface looks like an awesome fascist dictator's vehicle, but underneath actually lacks a lot of refinement. That kind of echoes the rest of China's automotive market. They are starting to come out with things, but they are nowhere near the top. And so unfortunately, China is producing some trash luxury cars. Now, South Korea emerged relatively recently as a pretty awesome player in the luxury car market. Back in the 90s, they were producing Kias and Hyundais that look like this, but these days they're producing Kias and Hyundais that look like this.
Wow.
They've completely changed their strategy. They're making some awesome looking cars, and luxury car brands like Genesis are really making a mark. They're making some pretty awesome luxury cars, but unfortunately they suffer from the same thing that Japan does, and they're a little bit tinny. But overall, South Korea makes some pretty good luxury cars. Now, not only does Sweden make meatballs, frickin' fantastic, but they also make cars like Volvo. Now, Volvo for ages has set the standard when it comes to safety, but when it comes to luxury, they've got some pretty interesting designs, but they're a little bit boring.
You're boring everybody!
And unfortunately, they're kind of meh. Like, you can buy a Volvo and be happy with it, but at the same time, if you've got a BMW, Mercedes, you're probably gonna pick the other cars. Last but not least, we have the daddy of all luxury cars, Germany. BMW, Audi, Porsche, Mercedes, the list goes on. Germany makes some incredible luxury cars. Even though their reliability can sometimes be questionable and very expensive, there is a certain thing about German luxury cars where if you close the door on a Japanese car, that's what you get. When you close the door on a German car, you get a solid bank vault sounding thud.